I still remember the exact moment. I realized the woman I married wasn't the woman I thought she was. We had been together 8 years, married for 6. I was the guy who showed up every single day. Steady job as a regional manager. Never missed a mortgage payment. Always made sure the house felt like home. I wasn't flashy, but I was solid. That's what I believed mattered most. My mom had always been close to us. After my father passed, she became part of our little family. She never interfered, never overstayed. She'd come over on weekends, cook some of my favorite dishes, and help my wife with small things around the house. I appreciated that. I thought we all did. But looking back, the signs were there. The way my wife would sigh when Mom called. The short replies. The way she'd roll her eyes when Mom offered to help in the kitchen. I brushed it off as stress. Work had been heavy for both of us. I told myself marriage means adjusting. I told myself love means patience. Then came that Sunday afternoon. My mom had been struggling with her blood sugar. She's diabetic, and sometimes she gets confused with her medicines. She called us that morning, voice a little shaky, asking if my wife could help her organize her weekly pill box because she was mixing up the days. Nothing major, just a small ask from an old woman who didn't want to bother her only son at work. I was at the office finishing reports. My wife was home. What happened next? I only learned later from my mom's quiet retelling. She said my wife snapped. Told her, I'm not your caretaker. Figure it out yourself. I have my own life. Cold, sharp, no softness, no respect. When I came home that evening, my wife acted like nothing happened. Kissed me on the cheek, asked about my day. I didn't know yet, but something in the house felt heavier, like the air had changed. That night I couldn't sleep, not because of what she said. I still didn't know the full story, but because for the first time I felt this quiet unease in my chest. A small voice whispering that maybe I had been ignoring things for too long. I should have noticed it earlier. The way respect was slowly disappearing from our home. The way my mother, who had sacrificed everything for me, was being treated like a burden. But I was still trying to hold on to the life I built. Still trying to believe that the woman I loved would never cross that line. I was wrong. The next morning I called my mom like I always did. Her voice was different, smaller. She tried to hide it, but I could hear the pain behind her words. When I gently pressed, she told me everything, word for word. Figure it out yourself. That phrase kept echoing in my head. I didn't explode. I didn't confront my wife right away. I just sat with it. I observed. I watched how she moved through our house like everything was normal, laughing at videos on her phone, complaining about her job, expecting me to listen like I always did. But something inside me had shifted. The respect I had for her, the foundation of our marriage, cracked that day. And once respect leaves, everything else starts to feel hollow. I started noticing more. How she would dismiss my opinions in front of her friends. How she'd make little comments about my salary not being enough for the lifestyle she wanted. How she never really asked about my mother's health again, like it didn't matter. 2 weeks later, we had a family dinner planned. My mom offered to come over and make biryani, my favorite. Before I could even respond, my wife said, "We'll order from outside." I don't want mess in my kitchen. My mom heard it over the phone. She quietly said she wasn't feeling well and canceled. That's when the quiet realization turned into clarity. I didn't shout. I didn't fight. I simply started moving different. I began waking up earlier, hitting the gym again like I used to before marriage. I reconnected with old friends. I focused harder at work and got a promotion I had been eyeing for months. I started handling my own clothes, my own meals, my own peace. My wife noticed the changes. At first, she joked about it. Then she got irritated. "Why are you acting so distant lately?" she asked one night. I looked at her calmly and said, "I'm just figuring things out." I used her own words. She didn't like that. The tension grew slowly. She tried to pull me back with affection, then with arguments, then with silence. But I had already started detaching, not with anger, with clarity. I understood now that the woman who could speak to my mother that way was capable of much more disrespect behind my back. One evening I came home early and heard her on the phone with her sister. She was complaining about how my mom was too much and how she was tired of pretending. She laughed while saying it. Laughed. I stood there in the hallway, keys still in my hand, and felt the last piece of love I had for her quietly die. Not in a dramatic explosion, just gone, like a light switching off. I didn't react that day either. I walked into the room, greeted her normally, and went about my evening. But inside I had already begun planning my exit. Not messy, not emotional, just clean. I started documenting things, quietly. Finances, conversations. I spoke to a lawyer friend. I prepared myself mentally for the next chapter. Because once you lose respect for someone, staying becomes a form of self-betrayal. The final conversation happened 3 months later. My mom had fallen ill. Nothing life-threatening, but she needed help for a few days. I told my wife I was bringing Mom to stay with us until she recovered. She lost it. "I'm not running a hospital here. Tell her to figure it out herself." There it was again. Those same cold words. This time I didn't stay silent. I looked at her and said very calmly, "Those words are exactly why she won't be coming here. In fact, neither will I much longer." She froze. I told her I had already found an apartment closer to my mom, that I had spoken to a lawyer, that the marriage in my heart had ended the day she disrespected the woman who raised me. She cried. She apologized. She said she didn't mean it. She tried everything, anger, tears, blame, but I had already walked away emotionally months ago. Her reaction now was too late. Within 6 weeks we separated. The divorce was quiet. I didn't fight dirty. I just took what was fair and left the rest. My mom recovered, and for the first time in years our home, my new place, felt peaceful. No tension, no hidden resentment, just respect. My ex-wife tried reaching out a few times after the divorce finalized. Said she realized how much she lost. But some bridges once burned with disrespect cannot be rebuilt. I didn't lose my marriage that day. I gained my self-respect back, and that's worth more than any relationship that demands you abandon your mother. The lesson I learned the hard way? Respect is everything. Once it's gone, no amount of love or history can bring it back. Never ignore how your partner treats your parents, because the way they treat them is eventually the way they'll treat you when you're no longer useful. I chose peace. I chose dignity. I chose my mother's comfort over a disrespectful marriage. And I've never been more at peace. If you're watching this and something in your gut is telling you the respect is fading, don't ignore it. Walk away with class. Level up in silence. The right path always reveals itself when you stop forcing the wrong one. Figure it out yourself, but make sure you figure it out with self-respect. That's the only thing that never backfires.